The alien arrival. The night sky over New York City erupted in a dazzling display of light, but this was no fireworks show. Massive ships, each the size of a small town, descended from the clouds. Their hulls gleamed with an otherworldly iridescence, reflecting the city lights below. Traffic screeched to a halt as millions of New Yorkers poured into the streets, their faces a mixture of awe and terror. Among the crowd stood Dr. Emily Chen, her dark eyes wide with a mixture of scientific curiosity and primal fear. As the lead xenobiologist at Columbia University, she had spent her entire career preparing for this moment. Yet now that it had arrived, she felt woefully unprepared. "This can't be happening," muttered her research assistant, Alex, his voice barely audible over the cacophony of car horns and panicked shouts. Emily gripped his shoulder. "It is happening, Alex, and we need to stay calm." As if in response to her words, a deafening boom echoed across the city. A beam of intense blue light shot down from the largest ship, striking the ground in Central Park. The earth trembled, and a collective gasp rose from the crowd. In Washington, D.C., President Samantha Hayes sat in the Situation Room, surrounded by grim-faced military advisors and intelligence officials. The room buzzed with frantic activity as reports flooded in from around the globe. New York wasn't the only city being visited. "Madam President," General Marcus Briggs began, his voice steady despite the chaos. "We're receiving similar reports from London, Moscow, Beijing, and dozens of other major cities worldwide. The aliens seem to be focusing on population centers." President Hayes nodded, her silver hair catching the light as she leaned forward. "What about our military response? Are we prepared to defend ourselves if necessary?" The room fell silent. It was Admiral Sarah Chen, no relation to Emily, who finally spoke up. "Madam President, I'm afraid our current weaponry appears to be ineffective against their technology. Our jets can't even get close to their ships. It's as if they're protected by some kind of force field." The president's face hardened. "So you're telling me that the most powerful military in the world is helpless against these visitors?" Before anyone could respond, a young lieutenant burst into the room. "Madam President, we're receiving a transmission. It's from the aliens." Back in New York, Emily pushed her way through the crowd, heading towards Central Park. She knew it was dangerous, possibly even suicidal, but her scientific curiosity overrode her sense of self-preservation. As she reached the park's edge, she saw something that made her blood run cold. A group of alien beings had emerged from the beam of light. They stood at least 8 feet tall, their bodies covered in what looked like a combination of metallic armor and living tissue. Their heads were elongated, with no visible eyes or mouth, yet Emily could feel their gaze upon her. One of the aliens stepped forward, raising a device in what Emily assumed was its hand. A holographic image appeared in the air, displaying a map of Earth. The alien's voice, if it could be called that, resonated in Emily's mind rather than her ears. "Humans of Earth," it began, the words somehow understood by everyone present. "We are the Zarkov, and we have come to claim your world. Your planet possesses resources vital to our survival. We have observed your species for centuries, waiting for you to advance sufficiently to be of use to us. That time has come." Emily felt a chill run down her spine. These beings had been watching humanity, waiting for the right moment to strike, and now they believed Earth was right for the taking. The alien continued, "We offer you a choice. Submit to our rule, and you will be allowed to live as our servants. Resist, and you will be eradicated. You have 24 Earth hours to decide." With that, the hologram disappeared, and the aliens retreated back into their ship. The blue beam vanished, leaving behind a scorched circle in the heart of Central Park. As panic began to spread through the crowd, Emily's mind raced. She needed to get to her lab, to analyze any data she could gather about these Zarkov. If humanity was going to have any chance of survival, they needed to understand their enemy. Meanwhile, In a secret underground facility deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Jacob Reeves watched the alien transmission with growing concern. As the head of Project Prometheus, a classified government initiative dedicated to preparing for potential alien contact, he had always known this day might come, but he had hoped humanity would have more time. Jacob turned to his team, a diverse group of scientists and engineers from around the world. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment we've been preparing for is here. It's time to activate the Helios Protocol. His second-in-command, Dr. Yuki Tanaka, gasped. But sir, the system isn't fully tested. We don't know if it will work. Jacob's expression was grim. We don't have a choice, Yuki. It's our only shot at leveling the playing field. As the team scrambled to initiate the Helios Protocol, Jacob couldn't help but wonder if they were already too late. The fate of humanity now rested on a desperate gamble, a piece of technology reverse-engineered from a crashed alien ship discovered decades ago. Back in Washington, President Hayes addressed the nation. Her voice was steady, but those who knew her could detect the underlying tension. My fellow Americans and citizens of the world, today we face the greatest challenge in human history. An alien force has arrived on our planet, threatening our very existence. But I want you all to know that we will not submit to their demands. We will not become slaves on our own world. She paused, her eyes blazing with determination. Humanity has faced countless challenges throughout our history, and we have always persevered. We've survived ice ages, plagues, and world wars. We've split the atom, walked on the moon, and unlocked the secrets of our own DNA. We are not weak. We are not primitive. We are humanity, and we will fight for our right to exist. As her words echoed across the globe, something remarkable began to happen. Instead of descending into chaos, people started to come together. Neighbors who had never spoken before now stood side by side, offering comfort and support. Scientists from rival institutions shared data freely, working around the clock to understand the alien threat. In New York, Emily Chen worked tirelessly in her lab, analyzing soil samples from Central Park and atmospheric readings taken during the alien landing. She was on the verge of a breakthrough when her computer screen suddenly went dark. No, 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 she muttered, frantically trying to reboot the system. But it wasn't just her computer. All across the city, lights were flickering out, cars stalled in the streets, and phones went dead. The Zarkov had made their first move, disabling Earth's technology with an electromagnetic pulse. As darkness fell over the city, Emily looked out her window at the alien ships hovering ominously above. She couldn't help but wonder, was this the end of human civilization as they knew it? Little did she know, deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Jacob Reeves and his team were about to change the course of history. The Helios Protocol was online, and humanity was about to reveal its hidden strength. As the first part of our story concludes, the stage is set for an epic confrontation. The Zarkov believe they face a primitive, easily conquered species, but they're about to learn that humanity is far more resourceful and resilient than they could have ever imagined. The battle for Earth is about to begin, and the outcome will determine the fate of not just our planet, but perhaps the entire galaxy. Earth's hidden strength. As darkness enveloped the planet, a spark of hope ignited deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. In the dimly lit control room of Project Prometheus, Dr. Jacob Reeves and his team worked feverishly, their faces illuminated by the soft blue glow of emergency lights. Helios Protocol activation in 3, 2, 1. Dr. Yuki Tanaka's voice trembled slightly as she initiated the sequence. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a low hum filled the facility, growing in intensity until it resonated through their bodies. Suddenly, screens flickered to life, and a holographic display of Earth materialized in the center of the room. Jacob leaned forward, his eyes wide. "It's working," he breathed. "The quantum shield is deploying." Across the globe, an invisible net of energy began to spread, emanating from hidden nodes buried deep underground. This was the fruit of decades of secret research, a planetary defense system based on technology salvaged from a crashed alien ship. In New York, Dr. Emily Chen stared out her window in amazement as the city's lights suddenly blazed back to life. Her computer rebooted, and she found herself inundated with messages from colleagues around the world, all reporting the same phenomenon. What on earth? She murmured, her scientific mind already racing to understand this unexpected turn of events. High above the planet, aboard the Zarkoth mothership, Supreme Commander Zoxlar received alarming reports from his subordinates. Impossible, he growled, his multifaceted eyes narrowing. How could these primitives have countered our EMP so quickly? His second-in-command, Vexna, approached cautiously. Supreme Commander, we're detecting an energy field encompassing the entire planet. Our sensors can't penetrate it, and our weapons are ineffective. Zoxlar's exoskeleton bristled with rage. Ineffective. Against a species that hasn't even achieved interstellar travel. Intensify the assault. We will not be thwarted by these humans. Back in Washington, President Hayes received the news of the Helios Protocol's success with a mixture of relief and trepidation. She turned to her advisors, her eyes gleaming with newfound hope. Ladies and gentlemen, it seems we have a fighting chance. General Briggs, what's our status? The grizzled general straightened. Madam President, our systems are back online, and we're detecting a significant weakening of the alien ship's defenses. It appears the Helios Protocol is interfering with their technology. Excellent. Hayes nodded. Prepare our forces for a counterattack. It's time to show these Zarkoth what humanity is truly capable of. As military forces around the world mobilized, something extraordinary began to unfold. The Helios Protocol wasn't just a defensive measure. It was unlocking hidden potential within the human mind. In a small town in Kansas, a farmer's daughter suddenly found she could move objects with her thoughts. In a Rio de Janeiro favela, a street artist discovered he could create illusions that seemed real to the touch. All across the globe, ordinary people were developing extraordinary abilities. Dr. Emily Chen, now working closely with military scientists, theorized that the quantum field generated by the Helios Protocol was somehow enhancing human neural activity, awakening latent abilities that had lain dormant for millennia. It's as if we're evolving in real time, she explained to a rapt audience of government officials and military brass. The Zarkoth may have superior technology, but we're rapidly gaining abilities they can't predict or understand. As reports of these new human capabilities flooded in, the Zarkoth found themselves facing an increasingly unpredictable enemy. Their initial landing parties, sent to secure strategic locations, met with fierce and inexplicable resistance. In London, a group of school teachers managed to repel an alien squad by creating impenetrable force fields. In Tokyo, a team of office workers telekinetically dismantled Zarkoth war machines. Each victory, no matter how small, fueled humanity's growing confidence and resolve. Aboard the mothership, Supreme Commander Zoxlar raged at his subordinates. How is this possible? They were supposed to be helpless, ripe for conquest. Vexna, ever the voice of reason, suggested a tactical retreat to regroup and reassess. But Zoxlar would hear none of it. We are the Zarkoth. We do not retreat. Prepare the Worldbreaker. If we cannot have this planet, no one will. As the massive Worldbreaker weapon began to charge, its ominous glow visible even from the ground, humanity prepared for its greatest test yet. In the Rocky Mountain facility, Jacob Reeves and his team worked tirelessly to enhance the Helios Protocol. They knew that while it had given humanity a fighting chance, it might not be enough to stop the Worldbreaker. We need more power, Jacob muttered, poring over schematics. If we could just boost the quantum field's intensity. Yuki Tanaka, her eyes red from lack of sleep, suddenly sat up straight. What if we didn't need more power? She asked. What if we could use the power of every human mind on the planet? Jacob looked at her, realization dawning. A global neural network. Yuki, "You're a genius." As they raced to modify the Helios Protocol, military forces around the world launched a coordinated assault on the Zarkov fleet. Fighter jets, now enhanced with reverse-engineered alien tech, engaged in dogfights with Zarkov fighters. On the ground, soldiers with newly awakened abilities fought alongside conventional forces. In New York, Emily Chen found herself on the front lines, using her newfound ability to manipulate molecular structures to heal wounded soldiers and reinforce defenses. As she worked, she couldn't help but marvel at the resilience and adaptability of her species. "We were never weak," she thought. "We just needed the right catalyst to unlock our true potential." As the battle raged on, President Hayes addressed the United Nations via a secure quantum communication channel. "Today, we fight not just for our individual nations, but for our entire species. The Zarkov believed Earth was weak, but we are proving them wrong. Together, we will show them the true strength of humanity." Her words resonated across the globe, inspiring millions to join the fight in whatever way they could. Scientists shared breakthroughs freely, crossing borders and ideological divides. Civilians with newly awakened abilities volunteered for dangerous missions. The entire planet united against the common threat. But even as humanity made progress, the world breaker loomed ever larger in the sky, its charge nearing completion. The fate of Earth hung in the balance, and time was running out. In the Rocky Mountain facility, Jacob and Yuki completed their modifications to the Helios Protocol. "It's ready," Jacob announced, his voice hoarse. "But for this to work, we need everyone. Every single human on the planet needs to focus their thoughts, their will, their very essence on repelling the Zarkov." President Hayes nodded grimly. "Then that's what we'll do. Patch me through to every communication device on the planet. It's time for humanity to stand as one." As Hayes's message went out, calling on every human to lend their mental energy to the cause, the world breaker reached full charge. Supreme Commander Zoxlar, his victory seemingly assured, gave the order to fire. A beam of unimaginable power lanced down from the Zarkov mothership, aimed at the heart of the planet. But as it struck the quantum shield surrounding Earth, something extraordinary happened. The thoughts and will of billions of humans, channeled through the modified Helios Protocol, coalesced into a force that even the Zarkov couldn't comprehend. The world breaker's beam was not only stopped but reflected back upon itself. In a blinding flash of light, the Zarkov mothership was engulfed in its own weapons energy. Smaller ships began to fall from the sky, their systems overloaded by the massive energy surge. As the light faded and the dust settled, humanity looked to the skies with a mixture of disbelief and elation. The Zarkov fleet was in ruins, their mighty armada reduced to falling debris. Earth had won. Humanity had proved its strength, not through superior technology or firepower, but through unity, adaptability, and an indomitable spirit. As celebrations erupted around the globe, Dr. Emily Chen stood in the rubble-strewn streets of New York, gazing up at the now clear sky. "This isn't the end," she murmured. "It's just the beginning." Indeed, as the world began to rebuild and come to terms with its newfound abilities, one thing was clear: humanity's place in the universe had forever changed. The stars, once distant and unreachable, now seemed tantalizingly close. The Zarkov had believed Earth was weak. In proving them wrong, humanity had taken its first steps towards a destiny among the stars. The human counterattack. In the days following humanity's unexpected victory over the Zarkov, a new reality began to set in. The skies, once filled with alien warships, now contained only debris and the occasional falling piece of extraterrestrial technology. As the dust settled, literally and figuratively, the world found itself grappling with the enormity of what had transpired. Dr. Emily Chen stood atop the ruins of what was once a Zarkov ground base in Central Park. The alien structure, a towering monolith of unfamiliar alloys and pulsing energy conduits, had been reduced to a sprawling field of twisted metal and sparking circuitry. She knelt, running her fingers over a piece of the alien tech, marveling at its complexity. "Fascinating, isn't it?" a voice said behind her. Emily turned to see Dr. Jacob Reeves approaching, looking haggard but triumphant. She nodded, standing to greet him. "Dr. Reeves, I presume. Your Helios protocol saved us all." Jacob smiled wryly. "The protocol just gave us a fighting chance. It was humanity's collective will that turned the tide." He paused, his expression growing serious. "But our work is far from over, Dr. Chen. We've repelled the invasion, but we need to understand what we've unleashed." Emily nodded in agreement. "The abilities that have manifested in the population, they're unprecedented. We're seeing everything from telekinesis to spontaneous cellular regeneration. It's as if the Helios protocol has unlocked something dormant within our DNA." As they spoke, a group of soldiers approached, led by a stern-faced woman in a colonel's uniform. "Dr. Chen, Dr. Reeves," she greeted them. "I'm Colonel Samantha Rodriguez. I've been tasked with overseeing the recovery and analysis of alien technology. We need your expertise." Meanwhile, in Washington, D.C., President Hayes sat in the Oval Office, surrounded by her top advisors. The room was tense, filled with a mixture of exhaustion and cautious optimism. "What's our status?" Hayes asked, her voice hoarse from days of non-stop crisis management. General Briggs cleared his throat. "Madam President, we've confirmed that the Zarkov fleet has been neutralized. Our forces, in conjunction with our international allies, are currently engaged in cleanup operations and recovery of alien tech." "And what of the Zarkov themselves?" Hayes pressed. Admiral Chen spoke up. "We've captured several hundred survivors, ma'am. They're being held in secure facilities around the globe. Initial interrogations have been challenging. Their biology and psychology are radically different from our own." Hayes nodded, her brow furrowed in thought. "And the public? How are they handling all of this?" The room fell silent for a moment before the Secretary of State, James Morton, spoke. "It's a mixed bag, Madam President. There's widespread celebration, of course, but also fear and uncertainty. Reports of new abilities continue to pour in from around the world. People are scared, excited, and confused all at once. Not to mention," General Briggs added, "there are already calls from some quarters to weaponize these new abilities and the alien tech we've recovered. The balance of global power is shifting by the hour." President Hayes stood, walking to the window to gaze out at the Washington Monument. "We stand at a crossroads," she said, her voice firm. "We could use this victory, this new power, to dominate, to conquer, but that would make us no better than the Zarkov." She turned back to face her advisors. "No, we have an opportunity here to forge a new path, to unite humanity in a way never before possible." Back in New York, Emily and Jacob had joined Colonel Rodriguez's team in examining the Zarkov base. As they delved deeper into the alien structure, they made a startling discovery. "This can't be right," Emily muttered, staring at her tablet. "These energy readings, they're off the charts." Jacob peered over her shoulder, his eyes widening. "It's not just energy," he said. "Look at these quantum signatures. They're familiar." Realization dawned on both scientists simultaneously. "It's the same underlying principle as the Helios protocol," Emily breathed. Colonel Rodriguez frowned. "What are you two talking about?" Jacob turned to her, his face pale. "Colonel, I think we've just discovered why the Zarkov came to Earth. They weren't after our resources. They were after us, human beings." As this revelation sent shockwaves through the scientific and military communities, another drama was unfolding in a secure facility beneath the Nevada desert. Here, in a specially designed containment chamber, sat Vexna, the captured second-in-command of the Zarkov fleet. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, leading the xenobiology research team, stood before the alien, separated by a force field. "We know you can understand us," she said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "We want to know why you came to our world." For a long moment, Vexna remained silent, its multifaceted eyes unblinking. Then, to everyone's surprise, it spoke, its voice a strange combination of clicks and subsonic vibrations that the translation software struggled to interpret. "You humans," it said, "are both more and less than you appear. You carry within you the legacy of the precursors, the potential to reshape reality itself. We sought to harvest that potential, to elevate our species. Instead, you have awakened it within yourselves." Dr. Tanaka's mind reeled at the implications. The precursors. Who were they? Vexna's response was chilling. They were the first, the shapers of galaxies. And you, humans, are their descendants, even if you have forgotten your heritage. As this information made its way up the chain of command, the world continued to change. In cities across the globe, people with newly awakened abilities began to organize, forming support groups and training centers. Governments scrambled to create new laws and regulations to deal with the sudden emergence of superpowered individuals. In the scientific community, breakthroughs were happening at an unprecedented rate. The combination of human ingenuity, alien technology, and awakened mental abilities led to advancements that would have seemed like science fiction mere weeks ago. Clean energy, near instantaneous global transportation, and even the first steps towards faster-than-light travel were suddenly within reach. But with these advancements came new challenges. Some saw the alien technology and new human abilities as a threat, calling for strict control or even suppression. Others viewed them as a means to settle old scores, reigniting conflicts that had been simmering for generations. As tensions rose, President Hayes once again addressed the world. "We stand at the dawn of a new era," she declared. "An era of unprecedented potential, but also great responsibility. The stars are no longer out of reach, but we must ensure that when we venture out into the cosmos, we do so as united representatives of Earth, not as conquerors or exploiters." Her words resonated with many, but not all. As humanity grappled with its new reality, a new challenge emerged. Reports began to trickle in of people whose abilities were growing beyond control, their minds unable to cope with the sudden influx of power. Dr. Emily Chen, now heading a global task force on human enhancement, found herself working around the clock to understand and mitigate these developments. "We're evolving faster than our bodies and minds can handle," she explained to a concerned UN panel. "If we can't find a way to stabilize these changes, we may face a crisis worse than the Zarkov invasion." As if to underscore her point, a sudden tremor shook the UN building. Outside, a young man floated above the streets of New York, his eyes glowing with uncontrolled energy, screaming for help as bursts of power erupted from his body. The human counterattack had succeeded beyond anyone's wildest dreams, but the war was far from over. Now, humanity found itself battling not external invaders, but the very power that had saved them. The next phase of human evolution had begun, and the fate of the species hung in the balance. As the sun set on this new world, Dr. Jacob Reeves stood in his Rocky Mountain facility, gazing at the holographic display of Earth. The planet pulsed with newfound energy, a swirling matrix of awakened human potential and alien technology. He couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of a much larger story. "What have we become?" he whispered to himself. "And more importantly, what will we become next?" The answers to these questions would shape not just the future of humanity, but potentially the fate of the entire galaxy. The counterattack was over, but the real challenge was just beginning. Galactic repercussions. 5 years had passed since the Zarkov invasion, and Earth was a planet transformed. Gleaming cities of impossible architecture stretched towards the sky, their spires a blend of human ingenuity and repurposed alien technology. In orbit, the first of Earth's interstellar vessels, the ESS Hope, prepared for its maiden voyage to Alpha Centauri. Dr. Emily Chen stood on the observation deck of the orbital station Unity, watching as final preparations were made for the Hope's departure. Her reflection in the reinforced glass showed a woman changed by years of intensive research and the weight of responsibility. At 35, She was now the head of the Global Institute for Human Advancement, GIHA, tasked with guiding humanity's evolution. Quite a sight, isn't it? The voice belonged to Admiral Sarah Chen, now the commander of Earth's fledgling space fleet. Emily nodded, a small smile playing on her lips. 5 years ago, this would have been impossible. Now, we're about to take our first steps into the galaxy. The Admiral's expression grew serious, and not a moment too soon. The latest intelligence reports are concerning. Before Emily could inquire further, a shimmer in the air announced the arrival of Dr. Jacob Reeves. His ability to teleport had been one of the first stable manifestations of humanity's new potential. Ladies, he greeted them, his form solidifying. I hope I'm not interrupting, but we have a situation. Meanwhile, on Earth, in the sprawling complex of GIHA's main research facility, Dr. Yuki Tanaka was facing a crisis of her own. Alarms blared as she raced down a corridor, her lab coat fluttering behind her. Status report. She barked into her comm device. A frantic voice responded. Dr. Tanaka, Subject 117's power levels are off the charts. We can't contain him much longer. Yuki burst into the observation room overlooking a reinforced chamber. Inside, a young man writhed in agony, his body emitting pulses of energy that cracked the very air around him. This was the dark side of humanity's evolution. Individuals whose powers grew faster than their ability to control them. Initiate Protocol Omega, Yuki ordered, her voice heavy with the weight of the decision. As a shimmering field enveloped the subject, suppressing his abilities, Yuki couldn't help but wonder how many more would suffer this fate. Back on Unity Station, Emily, Sarah, and Jacob had convened in a secure briefing room. The holographic display showed a map of the Milky Way, with several areas highlighted in red. We've detected significant movement in these sectors, Sarah explained, gesturing to the map. It appears the Zarkoth's defeat has upset the balance of power in our region of the galaxy. Jacob nodded grimly. The intelligence we gathered from Vexna and other captured Zarkoth suggests that there are other spacefaring civilizations out there. Some may see Earth as a threat, others as a potential ally. Emily leaned forward, studying the map intently. And the precursors? Have we learned anything more about them? Jacob shook his head. Nothing concrete, but there are whispers, myths shared among the Zarkoth prisoners. They speak of ancient technologies, hidden gateways to other galaxies, and powers beyond our comprehension. As they discussed the implications of this information, an alert sounded. A junior officer's voice came over the comm system. Admiral, we're detecting an anomaly at the edge of the solar system. It appears to be a wormhole. The trio exchanged alarmed glances before rushing to the main control room. On the central screen, they watched as a swirling vortex of energy materialized near Pluto's orbit. Are we under attack? Sarah demanded, her posture tense. The sensor officer shook his head, looking bewildered. No, ma'am. We're detecting a signal. I think it's a transmission. As they watched, the wormhole stabilized, and a sleek vessel emerged. It was unlike anything they had ever seen, its hull seeming to shift and change as if alive. The transmission cleared, and a face appeared on the screen. The being was humanoid but clearly alien, with iridescent skin and eyes that seemed to contain swirling galaxies. People of Earth, the being spoke, its voice resonating with an otherworldly harmony. I am Zaraful, emissary of the Galactic Conclave. Your recent victory over the Zarkoth and your rapid evolution have not gone unnoticed. The Conclave requests your presence. A stunned silence fell over the control room. Emily was the first to find her voice. Emissary, we're honored, but we're only just beginning to understand our place in the galaxy. We're not prepared for. Zarathul raised a hand, cutting her off gently. Dr. Emily Chen, your modesty is admirable, but unnecessary. You have awakened the legacy of the precursors within your species. The galaxy has been waiting eons for this moment. As the implications of the emissary's words sank in, Alarms began to blare across the station. The sensor officer's voice was tight with panic as he reported, multiple wormholes opening across the system. We're detecting ships, hundreds of them. The main screen split, showing various points across the solar system. Vessels of all shapes and sizes were pouring through wormholes, some sleek and advanced, others looking cobbled together and battle-worn. Admiral Chen's voice cut through the chaos. All stations, battle alert. Prepare for possible hostilities. But Zarathol's calm voice countered. Peace, humans. These are representatives from across the galaxy, come to witness your ascension. Some come in hope, others in fear, but all recognize the significance of this moment. As the control room erupted into frantic activity, Emily, Jacob, and Sarah huddled together. What do we do? Sarah asked, her military training warring with the unprecedented nature of the situation. Jacob's eyes were wide with a mixture of fear and excitement. This is it. The moment everything changes. Again. Emily took a deep breath, centering herself. We do what humanity has always done. We adapt. We learn. And we face the unknown with courage and curiosity. She turned to address Zarathul. Emissary, we accept the Conclave's invitation. Humanity is ready to take its place among the stars. As Emily's words echoed across the station and were relayed back to Earth, a new chapter in human history began. The repercussions of their victory over the Zarkov had reached far beyond their solar system, rippling across the galaxy and stirring ancient powers. In GIHA's facility on Earth, Yuki Tanaka watched the events unfold on a monitor, her hand resting on the containment chamber of Subject 117. The young man inside had calmed, his eyes fixed on the images from space. What does this mean for them? Her assistant asked, gesturing to the subject. Yuki's expression was a mixture of hope and determination. It means we have to work faster. Humanity's evolution isn't just a scientific curiosity anymore. It's the key to our survival and our place in the galaxy. As the ESS Hope prepared to embark on a journey far greater than anyone had anticipated, Earth stood on the brink of a new era. The galactic stage was set, and humanity was about to make its debut. The consequences of their actions would reshape not just their world, but the entire cosmic order. The invasion that had nearly destroyed them had instead catapulted humanity into a destiny beyond their wildest dreams. But as they would soon learn, with great power comes not just great responsibility, but great danger. The true test of humanity's strength was yet to come. A new era for humanity. The Great Hall of the Galactic Conclave was a marvel of cosmic architecture, its vast dome seemingly composed of living starlight. Representatives from 1,000 worlds filled the chamber, their forms as diverse as the planets they hailed from. At the center of it all stood a small delegation from Earth, their eyes wide with wonder and trepidation. Dr. Emily Chen, now serving as Earth's chief diplomat, stepped forward. Beside her, Dr. Jacob Reeves and Admiral Sarah Chen flanked a figure that drew curious murmurs from the assembled aliens. Subject 117, now known as Adam Novak, his once volatile powers now under control and serving as a living embodiment of humanity's potential. Zarathul, the ethereal emissary, raised his arms for silence. Esteemed members of the Conclave, I present to you the delegation from Earth, inheritors of the precursor legacy. A ripple of excitement, and in some cases, fear, swept through the assembly. Emily took a deep breath and began to speak, her words translated and broadcast across the galaxy. Honored representatives, we come before you not as conquerors or saviors, but as students eager to learn and allies ready to contribute. The power we've awakened within ourselves is not a weapon, but a tool, one we hope to use for the betterment of all sentient life. As Emily spoke, Adam felt a strange resonance within him. The energies that had once threatened to tear him apart now hummed in harmony with the very fabric of the cosmic chamber. He closed his eyes, and suddenly he could sense the thoughts and emotions of every being present. Emily, he whispered urgently, I can feel them. Not everyone here is pleased with our arrival. Jacob, attuned to Adam's abilities, placed a calming hand on his shoulder. Stay focused. We knew this wouldn't be easy. Indeed, as Emily concluded her speech, a hulking crystalline being lumbered forward. Pretty words, Earthling, it rumbled, but actions speak louder. The Zarkoth were but one of many who would seek to exploit your power. How can we trust that you won't become the very threat you claim to stand against? Before Emily could respond, another voice cut through the tension. Because they have already proven their worth. The speaker was a being of pure energy, its form flickering like a living flame. I am Sinra of the Guardians. We have watched Earth for millennia, waiting for this moment. The humans faced extinction and chose unity over dominance. That alone sets them apart. The debate raged on, with various factions arguing for and against Earth's inclusion in galactic affairs. Through it all, Emily and her team stood firm, answering questions and addressing concerns with a mixture of humility and quiet confidence. Meanwhile, back on Earth, Dr. Yuki Tanaka watched the proceedings via a quantum-entangled broadcast. The GIHA facility had become a hub of activity, with scientists and newly evolved humans working together to understand and harness their burgeoning abilities. Dr. Tanaka, a young researcher, called out, "We're detecting unusual energy signatures from the conclave chamber. It's affecting our subjects here." Yuki rushed to the monitoring station, her eyes widening as she saw the readings. Across the facility, individuals with enhanced abilities were experiencing a surge in power, their energies resonating with something vast and ancient. In the conclave chamber, Adam suddenly staggered, overwhelmed by a flood of sensations. "Something's happening," he gasped. "I can feel everything." As if in response, the very walls of the chamber began to pulse with light. A hush fell over the assembled beings as a new presence made itself known. From the heart of the Starlight Dome, a figure coalesced, a being of such radiance and complexity that it defied description. Zarathul fell to his knees. "The Overseer," he breathed. "A precursor." The being's voice resonated not through sound, but directly in the minds of all present. "Children of the cosmos, the time of awakening is at hand. Humanity's emergence marks the beginning of a new cosmic cycle." Images flooded through the minds of every being in the chamber and through the quantum link to every enhanced human on Earth. Visions of the precursors' rise, their stewardship of the galaxy, and their eventual decision to seed their essence across countless worlds, waiting for the day when a species would awaken to its full potential. "You, humans," the Overseer continued, its attention focusing on Emily and her team, "have taken the first steps on a long journey. Your trial is not over. It has only begun. You will face challenges that will test not just your power, but your wisdom and compassion." The Overseer's form began to fade, its final words echoing across the cosmos. "The galaxy stands at a crossroads. The choices you make, the alliances you forge, and the wisdom you cultivate will shape the fate of all. Remember this moment, for it is both an end and a beginning." As the precursor vanished, the chamber erupted into a cacophony of voices. Some cried out in joy, others in fear, but all recognized the magnitude of what had transpired. Emily turned to her team, her face a mixture of awe and determination. "Well," she said, a slight tremor in her voice, "I guess the stakes just got a bit higher." Admiral Chen nodded grimly. "We'll need to accelerate our plans. Earth must be prepared for whatever comes next." Jacob's mind was already racing with the implications of what they'd learned. The scientific possibilities alone. "We're going to need to establish new protocols, new ethical guidelines." Adam, still reeling from the experience, looked at his hands in wonder. "We're not just protecting Earth anymore, are we? We're responsible for the entire galaxy." As the conclave session adjourned, with promises of further negotiations and collaborations, the Earth delegation prepared to return home. They knew that the real work was just beginning. Back on Earth, cities buzzed with the news of what had transpired. The quantum broadcast had reached every corner of the globe, and humanity as a whole grappled with its new role in the cosmic order. In the GIA facility, Yuki Tanaka addressed her team, her voice steady despite the weight of responsibility she felt. From this day forward, our work takes on new meaning. We're not just studying evolution, we're guiding it. Every discovery we make, every breakthrough we achieve, will have repercussions across the galaxy. As dawn broke over a changed Earth, humanity stood at the threshold of a new era. The invasion that had once threatened to end their civilization had instead catapulted them into a destiny beyond imagining. They had proven their strength, not just to the Zarkov, but to the entire cosmos. Yet with this new power came challenges beyond anything they had faced before. Political structures would need to adapt to a galactic scale. Ethical considerations would stretch to encompass forms of life beyond human comprehension. And always, there would be the temptation to use their growing powers for dominance rather than cooperation. But as Emily Chen looked out at the stars from the observation deck of the returning Earth ship, she felt a sense of hope. Humanity had faced extinction and emerged stronger. They had confronted their own potential for destruction and chosen a path of unity. "We were never weak," she murmured, echoing her thoughts from years ago. "We just needed the right catalyst to become what we were always meant to be." As Earth grew larger in the view screen, Emily knew that the real journey was just beginning. Humanity had taken its first steps into a larger universe, and the stars themselves waited to see what they would become. The end of the Zarkov invasion was not just a victory for Earth, but the beginning of a new chapter in the cosmic story. And humanity, once believed to be weak, would play a central role in shaping the destiny of the galaxy.